seen as a showy gimmick by some and an impressive display of technical mastery by others. One-shot films are always a massive creative undertaking, at once immersive and somehow also drawing attention to the very artifice of the filmmaking process. A one-er or a one-shot film is a stylistic statement that can enhance or distract from any story a filmmaker is trying to tell. 1917. One-shot technique has drawn a lot of attention since the premiere of Sam Mendes' World War I thriller 1917. In a sense, it's a method that directors use to make the movie seem as though it was filmed unedited without cuts. The idea is to engage the audience and give them the impression that the action is being carried out in real life. But hey, 1917 was not filmed in one take. No, it's not. But knowing it wasn't actually a single take only begs another question. How did they film 1917? According to Sam Mendes, the 1917's one-shot style was already baked into the screenplay itself. Since the beginning, he already knew it would make the cinematography a daunting task, so he turned to none other than inimitable Roger Deakins. The entire World War I drama, 1917, centers on a pair of young soldiers who are trying to send a message to stop an attack. Although it appeared to be one shot in one long shot, it was actually a succession of uncut continuous frames that were expertly combined to create the illusion. Sam Mendes got the camera right up in the troops' faces as they marched through long, narrow trenches as part of his goal to create an interactive experience and place the audience in the shoe of a British soldier who fought in World War I. You might be wondering how 1917 was captured in a single continuous shot while being filmed in trenches, farms, muck, forests, and rivers. The movie cannot cut from one location to another because it is a continuous one. This required them to construct each set. Considering the following scenes in which George McKay's character, Lance Corporal Schofield, is seen rushing through a wrecked town and leaping off a ledge into a river. Flares light up the night sky. For some of the images in this sequence, these flares serve as the main source of lighting. The crew had to calculate the precise duration of the flare's aerial period. In order to test it, they created a miniature version of the city and used a light apparatus to trace the paths taken by shadows and the light that would pass through building windows. It was crucial to really visit the locations and sets in order to perfect the continuous shot. The art department started from scratch to create realistic sets. The camera's path required to be able to fit through each set. Take a look at this further sample scene. The barbed wire that the two troops were required to cross into no man's land had an angled passageways to allow for camera access. The camera could move from no man's land into the lower German trenches thanks to ramps. In the meantime, the tunnel entrances needed to be exactly the appropriate size to fit the camera and their incisions. To allow the camera to fit through, one window was made to separate. It requires a lot of practice. They first rehearsed at the Shepperton Studios in the vicinity of London before moving to the sets. Every single conversation line had to be practiced in front of a live audience. The blocking and the rehearsal process took 4 months in total. It was time to begin filming once they had a general understanding of the set, measured everything, and verified that each actor remembered their lines and reached their spots. Another key step was involved in creating this illusion. The character had the starting point and as a defined destination and could never go back, so the camera could only travel ahead. Allowing the camera to rotate 360 degrees is one remedy for the problem. This made it possible for the team to follow the characters without having to make any obvious hard cuts. Once they had a broad grasp of the set, measured everything, and confirmed that each actor recalled their lines and got to their locations, it was time to start shooting. The process of creating this illusion included another crucial step. The camera could only move forward because the characters could never turn around and had a clear beginning point and end. One solution to this issue is to enable 360-degree camera rotation. The team was able to follow the characters without needing to make any visible hard cuts as a result. However, nothing really matched the difficulty of executing the pivotal scene in which Schofield sprints next to a trench while fighting. Getting the shot required a lot of effort. And even though everything they did while shooting had to be so perfect, mistakes might still happen. You'll see George running into some extras as he emerges from the trench. This was not intended. They accidentally ran into the actor, but they didn't stop the filming. This fantastic real-life moment portraying the pandemonium of the conflict would have not been included in the film if they had immediately been cold cut. Children of Men. Children of Men is a brilliant movie with a soberingly prescient portrayal of a failing world, a stellar cast, and a profound plot. These elements are overwhelmed by its technological prowess. Alfonso Cuarón's dark film has a storyline that isn't too awful, which contributes to its towering stature. The movie's few long takes, however, are the foundation of its reputation. The seemingly continuous shots showed how new digital technology could and would open up new possibilities for movies and eventually television. Extensive long shots have either been criticized as gimmicky or hailed as immersive. Neither classifications is intrinsically incorrect, nor are they mutually exclusive. Let's analyze a few of the movie's sequences. An audience watching TV in a cafe is shown in the movie's opening scene. On the news, people are horrified to learn that David, one of the world's youngest people, was assassinated violently by an obsessive follower. The tragic nature of this information stems from the infertility crisis. Our main character, Theo, enters through the crowd and purchases a cup of coffee. He watches the news on TV for a time before leaving to walk through the streets of London. The cafe explodes, killing everyone inside before he has a chance to enjoy his drink. The camera follows Theo as he leaves the cafe at the 50-second point. The camera pans to the streets of London as he exits. We get a sense of the bleak future that our protagonist is living in thanks to this depiction of what the UK will look like in the future. Then, the focus returns to Theo. By turning around him to indicate that he is away from the cafe, it defies the 180-degree rule. Theo is about to read the newspaper and enjoy his coffee. When the cafe catches fire, the camera shakes in its handheld position as Theo flees to destruction. This explosion is a small sequence to the rest of the movie, but it is really well done. From a story perspective, it also establishes three things: the theme of finding hope in a hopeless world, the jaded worldview of the protagonist, and the unpredictable nature of the future. The infamous attack on the car starts out innocently enough in the following scenario. The five main individuals travel in a car to a meeting place. They are already well known to us, and the lighthearted conversation just strengthens our impression of them. Additionally, it acclimates us to the long take by showing us how the camera can pan around the vehicle's interior to a new selected angle. The first act's chat between each character is captured on camera while it is moving around the car. But when a burning automobile blocks them and a band of rebels encircles them, the inciting incident starts. Thus, the sequences shift into Act 2 starts. The rebels pursue the group in the second act while driving in reverse. Despite being in the car, we have a clear understanding of the location of the scene as it is happening. Key being in the car helped to create the tension. The impact of the action stake is increased as a result of this information being established. The motorcycle rider who shoots Julia in the throat at the scene's halfway point causes her to pass away immediately. Theo notices it and is appalled by what has transpired. The motorcyclist then tries to kill Theo, but fails when he uses the door on him. The group is out of harm's way in the climax of the sequence. The group attempts to avoid attention as police and emergency vehicles pass them in the third act of the sequence. A police vehicle stops them. When the cops ask for their identity documents, Luke shoots them dead. The action comes to an end as the group departs the scene of the devastation. The action sequence unfolds as though a story were being told right before our eyes. There is a certain pattern to the pacing, just like in a typical story. There is a beginning, the interactions of the character, a middle, the actual action taking place, and a definite end, Luke resorting to killing. The long take flows comfortably and easily while keeping the suspense in mind thanks to the careful pacing structure. Irreversible. The movie Irreversible, which is a brutal rape revenge story told in reverse order, progresses from the lowest levels of degradation and primitivism to the verdant idyllic of civilized humanity. Gaspar Noé, the director, makes sure audience members feel this dreadful taint of experience in their bones. Irreversible, which has a 9-minute one-take anal rape sequence as its central focus, seems in its description more like an urban legend than a movie. Yet it's a rare instance when the experience actually is worse than anything the imagination can conceive. Gaspar made every attempt possible to intentionally make Irreversible unsettling and even sickening. The background music in the movie plays at a 28 Hz frequency for more than an hour. It's usually too low for people to hear, but if you're wearing these noise-canceling headphones at a low volume, you can hear it. Since the frequency is so low, it really causes dizziness and nausea. Additionally, the music is meant to evoke fear, anxiety, sometimes to the point where you think you're going to die. The fire extinguisher scene and the rape scene both use CGI, but most of the rest is filmed handheld on a widescreen 16mm camera. For instance, in the opening shot, as the camera is spinning and swinging through the rectum's corridors, it must either be handed or mounted on an orbiting fixed camera gear. I'm betting on the latter, but largely. Furthermore, it is quite evident that the camera technique was intended to be confusing. In the rectum sequence, I kind of observed that every time the camera looked to focus on something, it would instantly veer in another direction, causing me to feel dizzy and disoriented. Irreversible might be argued to consist simply of 12 one-take scenes that were then arranged in reverse chronological order. It is often wondered, why did Gasper film a 9-minute rape scene? If not to portray sexual assault in a more realistic manner than conventional Hollywood movies? Which simply made me consider how nihilistic the film is overall. He refuses to leave the scene, forcing you to watch it for the full 9 minutes. He wants you to observe as Monica Bellucci changes during the course of the assault from an innocent woman to a serious assault victim. Gasper is reminding us that anything as pure as a human life, technically too, can't be left pure its entire life. And time is going to catch up and wreak its own natural destruction. As it states at the end, time destroys everything. All in all, the movie was filmed in a way that shouldn't ever really make you feel good. I feel like it's actually designed to do the polar opposite, to make you see how ugly some things in life are, and let you know you can't stop those things from happening. Time destroys all things. Birdman. I must say that the direction of Alejandro G. Iñárritu made me very interested to see his film Birdman. After all the attention it received and the countless Oscars and Golden Globes it won, I reached the conclusion that I had to watch this movie and learn what it was all about. But as I watched this film, I realized that the acting and cinematography, not necessarily the story, are what makes this movie so iconic and beautiful. The camera work in the film is one of its most impressive features. The sequences are filmed in a way that gives the impression that the entire movie was one long uninterrupted shot. Without any discernible cuts, the camera pans across the theater's corridors, the stage, the dressing rooms, and the streets of New York City. Even as the night gives way to the day, the camera captures the lights in the buildings gradually going out as the sun gradually becomes brighter. It even pans up to the sky and displays all the skyscrapers. You feel crowded, and as though you are traveling through that area of that building with the characters as the camera goes through the corridors. When the action takes place in the streets of New York City, the camera follows Regan while simultaneously capturing all the people and the structures in his immediate vicinity. In these images, the environment is more open, but you can still feel Regan's disdain for his prior renown as onlookers take pictures of him, referring him to as Birdman, and ask for signatures. These scenes make Regan feel sympathetic because none of them perceive him for who he is. Instead, they just recognize him as Birdman. The long shot not only makes it easier for the audience to identify with the characters, but it also establishes the movie's tempo. The change in tension is managed as it transitions from one scene to the next, since everything is portrayed in one seamless motion. Additionally, the many emotions in the sequences are expertly depicted through the superb use of camera angles and close-ups. For instance, the camera travels from Regan to the side of the stage where he watches his daughter kiss another actor, Mike Shiner, and then back to Regan to express his disgust just before he enters the stage. Mike Shiner is portrayed as a sort of villain since he is a difficult performer to work with, but no one has the gut to reprimand him because of his talent. There are instances where you want to just smack Mike in the face, but no one does. Thus, disparity is another part of the business, until Regan finally has enough and does punch him. You can better understand Regan's viewpoint and connect with the character thanks to the camera movement. These camera methods create stunning sceneries and help you relate to the people. The camera follows Regan as he flies around the city, producing a wonderful effect and giving the audience the impression that they are also flying with Regan. Feel as though they are flying along with Regan. An intense track list goes along with the captivating visuals. Every time the background music is heard, something is about to happen. It heightens the tension and makes you eager. Regan might experience another collapse, or he might be able to calm himself before the voice in his brain. He may become irritated with Birdman. The future? In either case, these situations are accompanied by jazz percussion or classical works like Mahler's Symphony No. 9 and Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 5. As they precisely complement what is happening on screen, these pieces do an excellent job of preparing the audience for the upcoming scenario. To really make something this complex a reality, the entire crew must put in their best effort. To achieve the aim, everyone must contribute their creative talents, whether they be in writing, directing, editing, color grading, or cinematography. Think of each contribution as a selling point for the illusion of a single take. Enter the Void. Enter the Void is an addition to Gaspar Noé's film masterpieces. It follows a drug-dealing teen Oscar who, after being killed in Tokyo, watches over his sister from the other world. His use of a camera in Enter the Void provides additional proof of Noé's innovative approach to meaning construction. Prior to Oscar's character being shot in the first act, the camera is POV. The camera then changes into his spirit and starts to spiral around various memories from his life. By putting the spectator in the character's position, the usage of cameras in Enter the Void shapes meaning. This heightens the experience and makes the death of Oscar more tragic and distressing to watch. The strategy of using the camera like a character also links to the symbolism of life flashing before your eyes when dying. The camera guides us through his life in a sometimes voyeuristic style. The decision by Noé to use Robert Montgomery's 1947 film Lady in the Lake as inspiration for his first-person point of view approach is the most startling. At the start of the movie, the camera mimics Oscar's head motions, and we truly view the world through his eyes, complete with blinking eyelids. After Oscar's passing, Void divides the cinematic gaze into 2 points of view. One keeps the current point of view as the camera flies through city streets, bars, and morgues to give the impression that we are seeing events through Oscar's ghost. Alternatively, we see the events of Oscar's near and distant past while the camera hovers just about the back of his head and shoulders. At times, the same scene is shown twice. The first time is from the perspective of Oscar's immediate conscious perception, and the second time is from the perspective of a post-mortem gaze in deferral that includes back of his head within the frame. In this touching scene, Oscar and Linda make a vow never to leave each other. The result is tremendously unsettling after 3 hours of switching between different points of view. Upon exiting the theater, the viewer feels as though they are hanging just outside the mind, seeing the world from a disoriented posture as the body functions independently. Noé employs movies in this way to decenter consciousness and to emphasize the driving experience. The movie closes with the rebirth as we stagger out. It might be Oscar's future rebirth, or it might just be a stoner's dream he experienced as he passed away. Was there a purpose to his existence, or was he just trying to assign one? Is it better or worse for his life to restart if there is no hidden purpose? What if there is a hidden agenda? Would the real punishment be the extinction of all life and the cessation of all emotions? Whether Oscar's life had meaning doesn't matter because he couldn't give himself to the possibility of it not. In the world of Enter the Void, it's as good to cease to exist than it's to live and suffer. Innovation is still crucial to the film industry. Therefore, filmmakers should be inspired to think outside the box and try to make their films more interesting and challenging. The one-shot approach is an uncommon but inventive, difficult, and imaginative method. There are numerous scenes in movies that employ this technique, such as the famous fight scene in the first Oldboy movie, but much fewer movies really attempt to film the entire movie in one take, and these films should be commended for taking the risk, even if they had various degrees of success. What are your thoughts about these films and one-shot technique in general? Did I miss some of your favorite one-shot films? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this video, everyone. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to hit that like button and click subscribe for more videos.